So Second Amendment activist, published author, firearms instructor, and poet John Petrolino is next, a real gun writer.
But first, we want to welcome American Shooters as the newest gun shop in San Diego and Gun Owners Radio's newest show sponsor. American Shooters just opened in El Cajon at 1464 Graves Avenue, just off Bradley on the 67. If you're looking for a great gun shop for any of your firearm needs, go visit Mark Halcon and his team at American Shooters. They have a great selection of new and used and consigned firearms. That's American Shooters at 1464 Graves Avenue, off the Bradley exit in lovely El Cajon.
If you've ever read anything about the Second Amendment on the internet, then you've probably read an article by our next guest, who's a friend of the show and a fantastic guy. He's a poet, a scholar, and a fine judge of Scotch. I say that a lot, but this time it's actually true. John Petrolino, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you this evening?
How about that for an intro?
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was it's going to be tough for me to fulfill what you've written there about me.
Hey, I want to introduce you. We got a new co-host here. His name's Action Jackson. Say hi, Jackson.
Hi.
Jackson is how old are you, buddy?
8.
And how often do you shoot?
Once a week.
That's awesome. And what's your gun that you usually shoot?
A 9mm 48 pistol.
A Glock 48 and 9mm. Kid goes shooting every Wednesday, 8 years old. And we got him on the show now. He's one of our co-hosts.
I have picked up on that, Jackson, and it's been wonderful listening to you on the show. I tune in every week, so welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So let's talk, man. You're as active as ever. There's all kinds of stuff going on when it comes to the Second Amendment. There are national and local stories breaking, it seems, all the time. What's something that struck your fancy? What's something that stuck out to you?
There's a lot going on. Recently, what we've dealt with here in Jersey is an onslaught of bills that were released on us, a lot of really bad anti-gun stuff. Luckily, through the repeated and continuing of contacting the legislators, they seem to have stalled everything. I don't think it's completely stopped, but I think they might be able to get maybe one bill passed, and it deals with people moving into the state being forced to register their handguns.
Was that a big problem, John? You guys have a lot of people moving into the state?
Well, yeah. It's funny you should bring that up. It's a lot of the people from New York. If they're fleeing New York because they want more freedoms, they stop in Jersey kind of as a purgatory because you don't want to get hit with too much freedom all at once, So if you stay, you do a quick overnighter in Jersey. But really, actually, if you look at all the states that people are fleeing the most, California is up there, New York is up there, New Jersey's up there. I think the reason why Jersey's numbers are actually a little bit stalled is because of people moving into Jersey from New York, which is ironic.
So it stalled. I mean, first off, do you feel like they're just kind of copying, or what are they doing? Are they taking a bunch of California laws and trying to implement them there, or where are these laws coming from?
I'm not really sure because there's a 50 caliber ban. I mean, do you guys have one of those?
Oh yeah, we got that.
Okay, so
we got an app for that.
Ban. Here's one that I'm sure you're well familiar with: the micro stamping of the firing pins.
So they are. They're just copying California laws. This is exactly right. Okay, go ahead. That's another exciting one.
Requires mandatory training to get an FID card.
We don't have an FID yet.
Yeah, we have the
safety card.
We have the safety card, and they mandated 8 hours for the CCW, but I don't know, not quite this, a little bit, kind of.
Yeah, it's a little off. Here's a good one. Allows the Attorney General to bring cause of action for certain public nuisance violations arising from sale or marketing of firearms.
Oh, gosh. That's another
language.
That's California based for sure.
And the language of the bill is so broad that, you and I right now could conceivably be partaking in the marketing of firearms, right? Because I like firearms. Do you like firearms? I mean, is that considered marketing them? I don't know.
And is it considered a public nuisance? Well, a lot of these, John, from my understanding, and I think that originated in California. Basically, what it does is if you have a gun shop and you put a picture of of some Navy SEAL with an AR, and say, hey, come buy your AR or whatever, they consider that a nuisance. They consider that false advertising, that that you're trying to tell kids that in order to be a real man, you have to buy an AR, and then they automatically turn into school shooters. And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. This isn't like, a worst case scenario or whatever. There were a couple of shops that have been taken to court over that. And part of the, there was a horrible shooting in Poway at a synagogue, and part of the case was, they're going after advertising and manufacturers, basically saying, hey, they paint these unrealistic expectations with their advertising. And that's why this kid, this horrible, heinous, evil person did what he did. So I'm assuming that's what they mean by the public nuisance thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of any other new way and interesting way to attack the lawful commerce of firearms and firearm owners and firearm groups and people that even just say the word firearm, right? So, that was one of the bills. And this stuff it's heinous. It really is. One of the other bills, I'm trying to think, one of the bills, I think it was the mandatory storage bill. I think that's the one. If you infringe on, or if you have an infraction of that, you have to get education from a quote unquote gun safety group and then volunteer time or something. So imagine if you got pinched on something on their list here. Next thing you know, you have to do community service with Moms Demand Action. I mean, you're talking about incredibly egregious violations of our rights. Imagine if you were forced to do that. I mean, that's a quagmire, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, so you go to first off, they send you to a re-education camp, I guess, and the head of that camp is a mom who's demanding action, and they get to tell you whatever political malarkey that they decide they want to tell you. That's the idea.
Yeah, and after they sit you there with your eyeballs held open with toothpicks as they play the film, they had to go and break rocks out in the yard. I guess, I don't know.
Do you get a diploma?
Right.
Tell me what a diploma.
So that's what's going on here in Jersey. What else is going on? This is kind of an interesting. I did an op-ed piece here. This was December 13th, so it's a little old, but things have been busy lately. There was a CNN article talking about all of these different cities, and they listed a whole bunch of cities that have this uptick in crime, and in particular, violent crime and murder. And the article goes on to say at least 9 major cities have broken their previous annual homicide records with 3 weeks to go in 2021 left, right? So this was a couple weeks ago. There have been 513 homicides in Philly. The previous total was 503 in 1990. So that's their winningest year for homicides for Philly.
Congratulations, Philadelphia.
Yeah, a lot of brotherly love there, right?
But John, didn't your DA in Philly come on TV and say that spike in crime was a myth and it's not happening?
I mean, I guess.
I thought it was a vast right-wing conspiracy or something.
Well, this is coming from CNN, so take from it what you will. Right? I mean, that's what we do. We got to go to the sources here. 230 in Indianapolis. Anyhow, so the big thing is that the writer here and was quoting one of the officials, and the official said that there's, been a huge surge in gun sales, and that's, maybe why this has been going on. And we all know that's malarkey. And they're trying to nail down a causal factor. There's nothing, they said there is nothing that links all of these cities together as to why there would be any similarities. And this was the police chief, I believe, in Austin. And he said, end quote, "We haven't found that one trend that we could really pin this on." So I went through and I looked at all of the cities that they listed, and I don't know how many are here, maybe 20, maybe more than that. And I added up I went to the counties that all those cities were from, and every single one of these cities, the county that those cities are in, overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden. So that's all I have to say.
That's the link.
Maybe it's the Joe Biden voters that are creating the problems.
These aren't about, so the people committing these horrible violent crimes, they're not NRA members and CCW holders and firearms instructors.
Well, that is a common thread, though. I mean, those cities, joking aside, I mean, those cities have been controlled for the most part by Democrats for decades. So it's the policies, I think, that result in that stuff. And
exactly.
And the thing with that DA, I mean, I was serious. I saw that clip of that guy, and I saw that just after I think I saw the article that you were talking about, where Philadelphia had broken 2020's record, I think, and 2021 wasn't over yet, and they'd broken the murder record for 2020, which set a record, that year. And he was out there actually saying that it was a myth. It's not happening. It's just like unbelievable that they can say that stuff.
It is crazy, especially because you have the uniform FBI crime report that we can look at and all these things. And, I'm using this as jest, but yes, they all did vote for Biden overwhelmingly. And it's not the voters, okay? It is the policies, like you said, Joe. The policies that are going on here obviously are not working. So my suggestion is maybe you just sit there and, these cities just put their hands up and say, I need an adult, and say, it's time for somebody else to step in. That's not us. And I'm not saying it has to be a Republican or a conservative or anything. Right? Who was Mike, was that you failed to declare, right?
Yeah.
What your party is?
Decline to state. That's right.
Decline to state.
But hey, we got to go to break. We're going to have you on after the break as well. So hold on there, John. Hold that thought.
All right. Hey, we are very proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. You can join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. You can learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com.
Every time you read that one, I think to myself, Second Amendment abacus. I don't know, but it's advocates. Right?
What did I say?
No, you said advocates, but it just
don't start with me.
No, you're doing fine.
You want to borrow a car?
I absolutely do.
You want to walk? It's okay.
That was probably the best read I've ever heard, Dave.
Yeah, you're so full of it. You squeak.
All right, we're talking to Second Amendment author John Petrolino. We were talking about some of the malarkey, which this is now the third time in this interview that we've used the word malarkey.
I like malarkey.
Yeah, fourth time. So we're talking about some of the malarkey that's going on in New Jersey with the Second Amendment. We're talking about some of the things that are going on in general. So what else? What do you think, John? Where do you think we're headed in 2022?
That's a great question. Well, I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of nonsense that we just discussed, like the bills in Jersey. Mm-hmm. I think the bad states are going to get worser, and I think the good states are going to get gooder. So we're looking at Ohio taking up, permitless carry. We had Pennsylvania almost get permitless carry. And then you have states like New Jersey, which are trying to double down. And I think they're going to go into all this kicking and screaming. And I tend to agree with Alan Gottlieb, his sentiments that he said on a show recently with Cam Edwards, talking about how I think that, we are going to see an onslaught of bad bills from the states that are going into accepting the Second Amendment, kicking and screaming. So while carry might be shoved down their throats come the, spring, summer of next year, I think they're going to try to do everything they possibly can to make this miserable for us.
How excited are you on? I got to tell you, I'm a little, I'm kind of a, negative Nancy when it comes to lawsuits. Just because when, when Heller happened in 2008, everybody said, huzzah, everything, all our problems are solved, and nothing happened. And then McDonald happened, and they said, oh, here it is. Now all our problems are solved. And, I'm not as excited about lawsuits as a lot of gun owners. I mean, I basically started an organization that is the opposite of lawsuits because I was so unexcited about lawsuits. But I don't mean to be just unnecessarily negative. I'm actually a very positive person, and I hope that these lawsuits are going to continue to, to help get our rights back. But how excited are you about the New York decision? I mean, even if it's a best case scenario, how much do you think it's going to help us move the needle?
Well, I think it's going to move it quite a bit. I might be on the other end of the spectrum where I'm slightly quixotic about this, and I'm trying not to be overly optimistic. But I think even if they have a very narrow opinion, and I think they're going to have an opinion in the affirmative for rights. It seems that way. That's the way it's leaning. But even if it is narrow, I think this is going to have incredibly broad implications because a whole bunch of stuff that's sitting there at the Supreme Court waiting on certiorari might get remanded down to the lower courts. And they said, thou shalt hear this and hear it under these pretenses. And that's similar to what they did with Catano. People talk about this is the first case that the Supreme Court's going to be, acting on and, since the McDonald case. And it's not really true. Catano had, and that's the stun gun taser ban out of Massachusetts. That case had huge implications across the country that allowed New Jersey's statute to be challenged and overthrown, as well as New York's and Hawaii's and a bunch of other places as well. So that was a Supreme Court related thing. And then the New York State Rifle Pistol Association one case was dealing with transport of firearms outside the boroughs that was mooted. So yes, this is going to be the first one maybe that's heard with an opinion, but it's not the first one that's been heard or hasn't had, any type of appreciable outcome. So all that stuff.
So do you think in general across the nation we're going in the right direction, or is it a stalemate? Or
no, we are. I mean, think about it. We've got, you've got 8 states that refuse to respect the Second Amendment the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you have, so it's like 8. That's not even, saying, well, the country's divided. No, it's not even 50%. Like if you look at what we're looking towards on permitless carry, we're going to be looking at half the country being permitless potentially over the next couple of years.
I mean, that's
huge.
That's an extreme step.
It is. And if you want to play games with landmass, like right now, more than 50% of the country is permitless carry. It happens to include Alaska, but, that's permitless. So if you look at the landmass of the United States, more than 50% of the area that you might go to, you don't need a permit to carry a gun.
Now, you and I have talked off air. You had this really great idea of, because like you said, it's just 8 states, the other 42 are pretty good. 35 of the other 42 are excellent. I don't know. I kind of pulled that number, but basically 42 are doing just fine. And it's the other 8. And you had this really great idea where everybody in those, in the 42 states should find an organization in the 8 states and send them money. Become a member, support them.
It's like feed the children. Send your dollars to an organization in New Jersey or New York or wherever. I mean, if you like what clearly New York State Rifle Pistol Association is doing something right, I mean, 2 of their cases within the last couple of years have been heard by the Supreme Court. If you live in a state that has solid foundation and solid laws without any threat to the Second Amendment, which, by the way, the Second Amendment is under threat anywhere, regardless. But just because it feels safe doesn't mean it 100% is. But toss some dollars to the New York State Rifle Pistol Association. Toss some money to ANJRPC. That's the New Jersey version, the Association of New Jersey Rifle Pistol Clubs, or Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners,
or San Diego County Gun Owners.
Or San Diego County Gun Owners. Exactly.
We should seriously.
Or Riverside.
We got to.
We got to do a campaign.
We got to name this. We got to do a campaign. We got to name it, like adopt a patriot or
Save
something.
our country.
Can you cry like Sally Struthers?
Can I?
Exactly. It's not that difficult to do because you're talking about so few states. So how many gun organizations are in California? There's not that many.
We'll get Jackson. Jackson, would you be in the commercial, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be in the commercial. Sponsor a young gun owner for just 50 cents a day.
Yep.
Right?
50.
How cool would that be? You could pull off some lines, couldn't you?
Do you know how much
Can
heat?
I?
Do you know how much heat would come his way? You wouldn't want to do that.
If there's anybody out there, especially in the 7 to 9 year old bracket that could handle heat, it's Action Jackson.
Well, that's true. No doubt about it.
Right?
Well, I think your idea is really not a bad idea. We just need to get the horsepower going and get the right people behind it as a unit. And I'm telling, because the right isn't really doing anything, and the left is doing it all.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have your people get in touch with my people, and we can figure out how to.
I agree.
How to do this. It could be like a super PAC for gun rights organizations.
It really is a good idea.
I think
John.
it is, too.
I mean, honestly, we're kind of joking around, but it really is a good idea. I really do think that some money spent towards getting, Oklahoma and Florida and Texas and.
Well, wouldn't you think the gun industry, the people that make the firearms and all of the stuff that goes with, core belts and all the stuff that goes with gun ownership, don't you think that if we all reached out to them and asked for it's kind of a tunnels to tower, $11 a month?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Well, considering too just the handful of bad states like California, New York, New Jersey generate a lot of the bad stuff that hurts everybody across the country. It's not a bad idea to step up, because one of the arguments you hear out here about the NRA is that they don't devote a lot of time or effort to California because it's kind of lost and they focus their money on other places. So all the more reason, I think, to generate stuff for us.
And there are 8 states, John, but there's some border states as well. Some states that are right on the edge of becoming bad. Georgia.
Well, so in those 8 states, though, right? That doesn't include, say, Illinois, that has shall issue permitting. Illinois is very bad for gun rights, so they still need help, right?
Right.
And on those 8 states, you have Delaware, which Delaware pretty much issues their permits to people that apply for them. But they do have some links where, they're kind of close to Jersey, so you have some of that fallout. So you're right. You have states, even like you said, like Georgia, that, might be safe, but how safe are they?
Isn't this what the NRA should be doing?
I've stopped trying to come up with what the NRA should be doing.
Years
ago.
This is a perfect organization to do this.
Yeah. Well, they kind of do the opposite, don't they? They kind of take money from California and spend it in
wherever.
I shouldn't say that. I'm a big fan of NRA. You guys are doing a great job if you're listening. All right, so
everybody raise your feet. Everybody raise your feet.
I support the NRA. I support the Second Amendment Foundation, Firearms Policy Coalition, all of the big ones.
I do. Sincerely.
I'm with them. I'm behind them completely, and we need them all.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, you could be a good spokesperson. You need to call them all Monday and tell them the game plan.
Well, we could figure this out offline. We'll talk, Mike.
All right.
Yeah, there you go, John. Where do we find more about you? I know you send out an excellent email once a week. Where do people find more about John Petrolino? Because I think you have an important voice, my friend.
JohnPetrolino.com. So that's JohnPetrolino.com. And you can get everything about me on their website and sign up for the newsletter, as well as learn about my book, Decoding Firearms, and all that stuff.
Excellent book. Seriously, folks, go to his website and buy that book. It is well worth it. Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.